Hello, curious oglers. I am showing you an update of some work that I've been doing. This is the reword lexicon. I've named it Color Lingo, and recently Lingo I've just made into an acronym of Linguistic Insight, naming grounded observation. And here we are. These top three groupings of rows: the abstract realm, the aspect state, and the anchor tag. So within these three groupings, I've got a very colorful coded set of words, and let's spend a little time going into each, and I've grouped them in groupings of three descriptive words to best sum up and describe their headings, and everything gets more abstract or personally human related, and these are all just concise words to try and paint a picture of how I perceive them, how I am arranging them in a way that makes sense to me without much blurriness. So it's to make things a little clearer in my mind about how we relate to ourselves and what we think of the world. So under abstract realm, we've got, so on the far left column here, that's symbolizing the space in the middle that kind of ties everything together. But it's not really in the middle, it's more like in the background. But in the diagrams, it's in the middle, but it permeates everywhere. It is the space. And going from left to right, I will start with let's start with the middle row, actually, aspect states, because that's, I think, easier to latch onto straight away. And I'll quickly go through the different parts of us. So the mind, the self, the body, flow, soul, and urge. So those are separated out across this color spectrum here, where we can more easily identify with those words because they compose us. We know, we can easily refer to when we know we are in a state of our mind. When we're walking around, our eye line is looking at the ground. We're so obviously in our minds. And by saying we are in our minds, we're, trying to say our awareness, our consciousness is mainly consumed within the domain that we call our mind. And going to body, another clear indicator of how we can relate in language is we know when we're in our bodies because we are activating more of our senses. We're using breath practices and yoga and anything involving manipulating and massaging or working that body, connecting with your body. That's when we're in a body state. And that makes perfect sense. And so on and so forth. I'm going through all of these different states of being. That's to say where our conscious awareness is at any given point throughout our lives, whether we are consciously awake or unconsciously aware or unaware. All of these aspect states and so on and so forth into different terms of anchor tags or abstract realms, whatever it is. This is just creating a language so that we can talk about the same thing by laying it all out. And so, yeah, this is my color lingo. So I'll make longer, more elaborate videos as I go. But if you're curious, follow along. I've got this content on my YouTube channel. I don't know where I'm going with it, what I'm really doing with it, but this is a sum of what I've been fascinated with. I'll carry on going through the video, but for most people, their attention span would clock off, but that's fine. If you're curious about the implications of this, then stick around, because it gets pretty deep. And I know many of my friends are as curious as I am. It's just, I think I've allowed myself to spend a lot more time and willingness onto exploring this and developing a form of understanding that I can share with others without so much fear of sounding wacky. Right, so this is getting abstract when I start linking different words within the same color spectrum, like ego and form when I attach that to self, or link and wit when I attach that to mind. But all these words make more and more sense to me. Obviously, I've been putting them together to illustrate how they can make sense. And I want to point the bands of black in between the groupings. They are polar fields, if you will. They are so that I can remind myself how they relate, and if it sounds like it's a more accurate relation in a polarity kind of way. And that helps illustrate and remind us of the dual nature of perception, and how we like symmetry because we can see the contrast, we can see the opposite. There are clear distinctions between one end of a scale and another end of a scale. And I say scale in this regard because that's symbolizing that seesaw, that this side or this side, the duality, the dichotomy. And it's helpful to remind ourselves of that, because that's of relevance too. And I don't really know why or understand why. I don't have clear answers for any of this. This is an investigation and an unraveling. So follow along if you're curious about this. Now, when I start making a little bit of like a relation to everyday life, maybe those are the things that stick in your mind without having to memorize all of these complicated words, because it's one thing me writing the words down from my accumulated experiences and understanding and perception. It's another for you to read the words and for them to click in you as well. So I'm trying my best to convey, and for it to be, universally understood. But throughout my daily experience, the importance of being self-aware and being self-conscious, how that is consuming most of my time, is so relevant to today's world, because that's what I feel is at the crux of the majority of our experience. The way we see ourselves is we're just so enthralled in the pattern. So if I was to explore the self, which is of form, and maybe talk a little bit about that. So form, I've written the 3 words to describe that as master, program, pattern. Okay, so that's more in an abstract way to describe form. And self is identity, worth, control. So those are 3 words I've picked to describe self. All of these words can change and will probably change over time. An ego, entity, personal, possess. So here with these selections of wording, I'm illustrating that we are obsessed with form. We like straight lines. We like symmetry. We like mathematical equations that add up and make sense. And we love the perfection. We love all things of form because that's how we perceive the separation. We're looking at boundaries. We are looking at matter. We are looking at what identifies us and separates us from them or that, from me, from you. And so these degrees of separation is all in this blue light spectrum of color. And ego is a tag that is permeating the kind of current language, the lexicon. So let's stick with these 3-letter words for the rest of the anchor tags. But we know it of ourself. Now, I've been drawing the comparison between mind, self, and body, naming these 3 aspect states because people can most easily identify with those parts of us, the mind and the body, the physical parts of us. But the self, like the spirit, like the grace or flow or soul even, that is less tangible and less commonly understood and recognized. But that's really at the core of the master program, right? We are perpetually repeating patterns to reinforce this notion that we are our self, our identity, our separate, unique being. And we've built a whole world around that way of life. And so straddling self is role and view. Role being on the side between self and body. So it's the physical manifestation, it's the persona, it's status, it's conduct. It's how we portray our external position. And so within that, it's an act. It's the avatar. It's variable and better, for lack of a better word. It is the mode, which is more abstract, meaning matter, object, condition. It's more of the scientific way to look at something objectively and see how there are variations between the form and life. And so life symbolizing body and age is towards that side. And then over towards, before we get into the view, between form and link, the abstract word I've chosen for that realm is meta. And so the 3 words are target, collect, concept. Meta is trying to mention the state of view within ourself. It's between the mind and the self. So when you are able to start separating the self from parts of you, like the mind or the body or the role or the view, you can see how view is a fusion between the mind and the self. And so view I've described as ambition, virtue, compare. And so that's symbolized as aim, which is subject, rational, believe. So that's the view, that's the meta, that's the aim. And so between mind, which is link and wit, and we all know what the mind can symbolize, but between mind and over here, urge. is plan. And so let's talk about urge and fire, because this is of will, and it may be less familiar. It's definitely less familiar for me personally. I want to engage more on that side. So, abstract, fire, power, engine, activity. These are the key words of the fire realm. And that's the aspect state of urge. And that's of action, motive, change. It is the ability of will to enact force. It's dominant. It's a demand. So with willpower, we can change and force and activate, motivate ourselves into action. We demand a change, That's that kind of power within the red color. And that's down here symbolized by boss and go and drive and stuff. So as it expands, this document is pretty massive, pretty comprehensive already. Quick glance down. And these are generally on the kind of like neutral / positive side of wording. And I've been exploring negative sides, negative for lack of a better word, kind of the low end of the experience, the fear and loss and stuff, and shame. So all of those kind of like deeper, negative words, they are coming into play, and it's coming together to help form a picture about how all of this paints a more colorful image of who we are, and we can use it as a map using language, but it does require an openness. So between urge and mind is that plan, and that's of the path, system, progress and strategy. And plan is decision, pursuit, choose, way, intent, committed, pursue, and so on. So you can see that's of a certain mentality. Now, like I mentioned, I personally feel like I've been lacking a sense of will, a connection to my urges, both on either side of it. The plan and the way and the direction, sticking to a committed course, to choose and to focus, really. That's been kind of blown open, and I'm distracted and more scatterbrained. And also on the side towards soul, and one is sex and lust and the bond. So my will to be in those domains, I haven't experienced much. I've been suppressing, I guess, or putting other things into priority in my personal life. But yeah, it does help illustrate my rationale between where I've chosen to put these words and how I relate to them, because this is the only sense that I can make is my own experience, isn't it? How can we possibly try to talk about a universal truth? Everything is very much subjective. So where to next? Let's talk about love. Let's talk about the soul one home. So under the abstract realm of love, I've put 3 words: source, purity, honesty. And under soul, I've put essence, empathy, comfort. Under one, I've put deity, original, belong. So let those words sink in. Now, I'm really looking forward to exploring more practical wording to help illustrate these words and these different aspects. Open is a word that I'm starting to use in my kind of marketing language to help remind me to open up and to be free and to be honest and to lead from the heart and to share and give. Let my best goodness, pour out. And so that's definitely of love, isn't it? All of that. And yeah, I guess I just really need to welcome more ways to open up. But that's scary. And the reason why it's scary is because what's on the opposite polar side of love? It's form. What's the opposite of soul? It's self. And that's why I'm using these graphical diagrams to help illustrate an easier way to see the polarities, because in this kind of linear fashion with an Excel document, you can't really get that easily. That's also why I've used these rows to illustrate these polarities. So that's why if I'm going with this notion that connecting more to a state of soul requires empathy, requires an openness to be honest and pure and loving and giving and all that, I must return home to my purpose, my divinity, the original kind of loving and belonging. That sounds so woo-woo, but I think I need that. So under the right conditions, I'll probably seek that in whatever way. But that's in opposition to self and form and ego. And so that already hints to how I perceive the world being completely run and dominated by the self, the collective and the individual self. And I don't blame it. I love form as well. I love, all these different things within form. I'm a designer. I mean, look at this. This is a work of visual, like, beauty, right? As well as intellectual, logic and stuff. But yeah, we can't stay for much longer within the ego, being the leader, being the person, and looking at wealth and involvement, pride, me, auto. So going down this, I'm reminded of why I've put certain words there. The mind and the body, we can largely agree that they are autonomous parts of us. The mind is obviously the thought, the brain, the psyche, our cognitive abilities to factor in things. It's represented as the game, the puzzle, the reason to assess. In other words, your dream. It's that. So the mind, we know, runs autonomously throughout. We're very aware of that. And so there's the body when we give it time to focus on and appreciate, connect to our bodies. And so our breath is autonomous until our conscious awareness is trying to focus on the breath. And then because we're so much of form and of self and of ego, we just automatically take control of our breath. So whatever we focus on, we try and just command and take control of it. And so the practice of breath work, not that, I'm just entering that personally, but they teach to just try to let your awareness just be conscious of the breath and listen to the body do its automatic thing without taking control. And we do that same practice with our mind. So in meditation practices, people say it's not about trying to control your thoughts. It's more or less about you start to just watch them in the first place as a separate part of you, as an autonomous thing. And so when we see in this way that there are all these different parts of us, they're running autonomously, self is just another part. And we see the attributes, we see that it takes control and that we have just formed completely within our self identity. And so all of our experience is within this blue, symbolized blue color spectrum. And so then you go down and you put all these words together, and it paints a much more vivid image. And as I go down, you can start to imagine how that transfers over to a scale of good and bad, of positive and negative. So a lot of suffering is because of the self. It's self-related. If people have a near-death experience, or they take DMT, or they take other, psilocybin, or whatever experiences that just, creates some form of ego death, as people refer to it. When they experience that, they experience so much more other than what's in front of you now. This is just our more like human waking conscious awareness spectrum. I'm not even beginning to comprehend things outside of this more human related experience. But yeah, when people have those epic journeys and breakthroughs, it's all about dissolving of the ego, of letting go, of detachment to self, to form, to matter, to our perceptions of reality itself. I'm looking forward to when I'm able to reach out, or have someone reach out to me about participating in DMT or other forms of psychedelics. I'm very open to that, and open to community as well, to explore the love side and the soul and leading from the heart and all that good stuff, the hippy dippy stuff. Because I've been exploring a lot of these areas, but not so much around will, not so much around soul, and inhibited. I'm torn. I can't seem to stay in this realm of path and plan and way. I'm committed to all of this, which doesn't really fit within the current lifestyle and restrictions of this world of self, the era of ego. So yeah, coming up half an hour. That's enough rambling. But yeah, what'd you think? Leave some comments, get in touch, and let's see where else we can take it. I want to have great conversations around this and be inspired to give you more information that I can without it sounding, I don't know. Bye.